Utah, it's 7:30 a.m. in U.S. Utah, and this is Pranav here, trying to bring one more show from the series of the famous podcaster of complementary and alternative medicine across the globe, none other than my favorite Daniel Lane. Today's topic will be on nutrition and day-to-day what we eat, and that how does it affect on our body, psyche, illness, so on and so forth. Uh, as it is rightly said by Dr. Asim Agrawal from US, an eminent cardiologist, that regular exercise intake and cutting off alcohol consumption that helps almost equal to or sometimes better than that of the drug regime. So eminent scholars all over the world are preaching and promoting that the next phase of healthcare management is through the management of lifestyle, in which if we try to bring one after another shows uh, from complementary medicine that will help the audience to learn more about what dietary intake should we take. And when I'm building up a preface, I would, as a student years ago, 3 decades ago, I had an honor to learn complementary medicine. And in first year of BMS, we used to read a book named Ashtang Hriday, written by Wagbet. Of course, I always preach and pronounce jokingly that I'm the dissident, and I inherit the legacy of great Wagbet. And 5,000 years ago, he scientifically signifies in poetic prophecy in alternative medicine named Ayurveda years back at India that dietary regime does play a role in impairing the body's mechanism, in which uh, Daniel is always smart enough to find out the best and the brightest across the globe. She is a pathfinder, and this show is going to be a path breaker. So, not wasting any time further, dear friends, let us go and try to find out what she has to offer to what she brings today, what the conversation brings today. Couple of housekeeping points. I will not go away anywhere. I will be monitoring the data from the background. My primary job is to not to preach the scientific concept to my August gathering of NPAFInc network. My primary job is to feed the data, to take the picture uh, through the brightest and the best possible route so you all can enjoy. I'm not going away. I will be sitting in the background just watching the proceedings, and I wish today we succeed to to bring you the voice of Julia Ross. She is the pioneer in the field of nutritional therapy. There are in Ayurvedic medicine there are Rajasic, Tamasic, and Sattvic Ahara. That means Rajasic. There are three categories. Jargon may be different. Something is written in a poetic prophecy in Sanskrit language years ago without any modern get-gets. But when the get-gets came, it scientifically validates whatever they preached and wrote with the divinity. It very much a similar like, not always, but very much a similar like what is being derived today. And if we try to learn to get the insight from old textbook of Ayurvedic medicine, that will help all of us to find a new way to help to recover the mankind globally. Julia Ross is the pioneer in nutritional therapy. Bad mood epidemic in the time of COVID. We have had a lot of issues, home confinement, social isolation, and adding to that, mood elevation, mood deprivation, all this cause lots of illnesses, in which she is going to today embolden the audience, enlighten the audience today in conversation with Daniel Lynn. Just don't go away, stay tuned, stay with us for next 45 minutes or so, and in the last concluding phase, I will be back. Dear friends from Utah, this is our third show in a row, and we believe that you are enjoying this, and your positive feedbacks have kept us going all the time. It is 7:30 or 7:38 a.m. early morning in Utah, U.S. It is 9:38 a.m. in New Jersey. 7:10 a.m. 7:10 p.m. in India, and it is 11 a.m. in St. John's. So, not wasting any time further, dear friends. Let us let us try to learn what she brings today.
I love that. Hello, everybody, and happy holidays. I'm Danielle Lynn. Well, for most of us, this is a pretty crazy time of the year, right? When we should all be kind of stepping back and reflecting and slowing down to enjoy this wonderful season. But I know, and so do you, that many of you will be getting on planes in busy airports and shopping in crowded lines and overspending and overeating, only to wake up in early January to say, what was I thinking? And if you are in the 25% of the population that is already prone to depression and anxiety, this time of year can really be pretty much overwhelming, dealing with family, dealing with all the things you have to look at. And for those of you that are also running on the fast track, just in everyday life, and then you suddenly have to stop, it creates a pressure that is kind of unusual, because you begin to realize that your mind has been going and your body has just been showing up. In this hour, you really won't want to miss this, because not only it is about the holiday season, no doubt, but it is about getting through the holiday season in a way that at the end of it, you are not exhausted, collapsed, and out of your mind. We want to put you back in balance. And my guest, who happens to be one of my, I would say, dear friends, even though we don't see each other and don't know each other in an everyday sense, she's been a great friend of this program. And every time she's on, she's been back with us a couple of times, and we've talked about things that make a huge impact and a big difference in your life. We're going to talk about her new book. It's called The Mood Cure. It is an easy 4-step program to rebalance your emotional chemistry and really discover this whole thing about well-being. And we say that she's going to break down for you in a phenomenal way so you can see the actual quadrants of your brain and find out which area is it that you might be in that might be stressing you out or fatiguing you or changing your moods or creating unhappiness in your life simply because you're out of balance nutritionally. So this is one of those hours that at the end of it, you're going to walk away not only kind of sitting back and realizing, you got to be kidding me. When I was reading some of the symptoms for some of the different imbalances, I was actually kind of shocked. So we're going to talk about those and how some people in your life that you might think, hey, what's wrong with them? They need to go on drugs, or people are on drugs. You realize it's just a nutritional deficiency. And that is the delight of the way the research and the work has gone over the last 30 years, so that there's real credibility to understanding the human nature and the being just by balancing it on a natural path. So with my great pleasure, I want to introduce you to Julia Ross. As I said, she's the author of The Diet Cure and The Mood Cure, and is a clinical psychologist working in San Francisco and director of the recovery systems in Mill Valley. Many years, Julia, you have been working with people who are addicted and adolescents that have had eating problems. And I know, first of all, I want to welcome you to the program and wish you happy holidays.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's fun for you to be back, because it's always great. I find that a lot of times when I get a book, I can pretty much skim the surface, get the gist of it. And this book is so well written that I took it on the plane with me to Boise, Idaho a couple days ago. And I usually want the plane to, the ride to be over and finish the book and get out and done. And I kept finding myself thinking, I'm hoping that we're going to sit on the plane a little bit longer. And that is very unusual, because there's so much information that I don't care who you are, that it's going to push something within yourself that you say, that's me, that's me, that's me. In the work that you've done, will you go over, because I know that you say that 80% of the population is either stressed or depressed.
That's right. And I think 80% of your listeners at least will identify with that. But we can break it down a little more to personalize just exactly what kind of mood problems your listeners may be having. The book, The Mood Cure, actually begins with a 4-part questionnaire because there are actually 4 parts of the brain that program our moods. And some of us are weaker in one than another. Some of us are weak in all 4 areas.
Yeah, because when I was reading, most people are familiar with serotonin levels, but the other ones, I don't think we are. And so let's go through the 4 so that everybody can kind of have a basic understanding of what you're talking about.
Well, the first one is low serotonin. So serotonin is the chemical that controls the production of a certain set of emotional and physical symptoms. And if you're deficient in serotonin, you know it by some very specific clues that are listed in this questionnaire. For example, you tend to be negative, see the dark side, the glass is half empty instead of half full. You tend to be worried, anxious, maybe fearful, even phobic, maybe have panic. Your self-esteem tends to be low. You tend to be negative about yourself, maybe more than anything else. You can be obsessive in all kinds of different ways. You can be irritable or even more angry than that at times, and really just not understand where are these feelings coming from. In the dark weather, this is the part of the brain that is always the most affected. So serotonin is stimulated by light, and in the dark months, these symptoms can really get out of hand, and that's a big reason why the holiday season is so rough for people. You know, in Australia, they have Christmas in the summer, and they just don't have the kind of mood problems that we experience here. So it's not the holiday itself so much as our biochemistry during the holidays. Mm-hmm. And then in terms of some of the physical symptoms, people with low serotonin tend to have a lot of trouble with hot weather. They hate it. Their sleep patterns are not good. They tend to stay up late or have interrupted sleep. They tend to get kind of mysterious muscle pain. Fibromyalgia is a direct symptom of low serotonin because we need serotonin in our muscles as well as in our brain.
So that was fascinating to me because as I started reading through these, I started thinking of how many symptoms that could be coming up simply by, and you do a lot of work with amino acids, which we're going to talk about,
Good.
But so many of the things you mentioned in the book, I realized there are people on just hundreds of drugs trying to fix these symptoms, or maybe misdiagnosed and have no idea, and of course never have any cure. So we'll talk about those as we go through. Let's keep going through them, and then we can subdivide them.
The second most common mood chemistry deficiency that we suffer from is a deficiency of the catecholamines, which are a little trio of chemicals that keep us perky, and one of them is adrenaline, and that's kind of the most extreme of the lot, but the others just keep us alert, focused, energetic. And so if we're deficient in them, we have that kind of draggy depression, that flat, bored, apathetic kind of depression. We don't focus well, our concentration is poor, and we're tired a lot. We may sleep too much. We may not have good thyroid function. Often goes along with this, so we may be easily chilled and just draggy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and the GABA?
The GABA is the chemical in the brain that is our natural Valium that keeps us relaxed even in the face of stress. So the more stress we experience, the more we can get run down in GABA. And if that happens, then we really feel those pressures and deadlines and get overwhelmed easily. It's hard to relax, hard to be flexible and kind of move on in the face of difficulties. And we all have difficulties. And as you say, this is a very stressful time of the year. Mm-hmm. We're so rushed, and the money issues and so forth. So that's the GABA depletion problem. And then the fourth issue that lots of people have, and women in particular tend to identify with this one because this has to do with a deficiency of endorphin. And women are just simply born with less endorphin than men. So they tend to relate to the deficiency symptoms, which are being overly sensitive, looking for comfort foods to kind of numb the pain, And especially if people have gone through a lot of pain in their lives, whether it's physical or emotional, they can't just get kind of worn down in terms of their endorphin levels. Endorphins are our natural painkillers, and they give us the pleasure, even the euphoria of life.
Well, let's do this. Let's take a break. And as we continue with the euphoria of this hour, I'm Danielle Lynn with Julia Ross and The Mood Cure. We've got some great information, some great books, and boy, you're going to love what's coming up in this next part of the program. Hang on there. We'll be back in a moment. DanielleLynn.com. Scratching your head when buying a natural supplement for immune and gut health? It's not surprising. Your microbiome is complicated, and so is the whole probiotic category. What's clear is that 80% of your immune system is housed in the gut. If your gut is not working properly, it can cause poor digestion, brain fog, immune imbalance, allergies, and even inflammation. Making sure it's functioning correctly is essential. No one knows that better than world-renowned microbiologist Dr. Lyubov Sichel, backed by 20-plus years of research in metabiotics. Dr. Sichel's scientific breakthroughs changed our understanding of immune and digestive health. A next generation of probiotics was born, Delimmune V. Delimmune V works immediately to boost immune and microbiota support to fight infections and balance digestion. It works when you need it the most. Try Delimmune V daily for maintenance and defense for enhanced support at StellarBiotics.com. That's StellarBiotics.com. Discount code Danielle.
This place has a pulse. You hear it in the canopy, feel it in the ground. Life, fully illuminated, engulfs you. From the birds singing in the treetops above to the tiniest insects in the soil below, you take a deep, cleansing breath, filling your lungs with the essence of the forest. Now, imagine it's all gone. Healthy, life-giving forests reduced to nothing. No singing birds, no lush canopy, and water and food in short supply around the world. Time is running out to protect our forests, and without our love, they can and will disappear. It's our choice. Love it or lose it. Help protect our forests. Visit World Wildlife Fund at wwf.org/love.
There is nothing more important than your health. I'm sure you've heard that before. It's an easy thing to say, but navigating the path to wellness and balance can take years of trial and error to know what works best for your body and lifestyle, especially if you're living with aching or sore joints. That's where Mariva comes in. Combining science and Mother Nature, Mariva from Indina addresses oxidative stress and free radical damage at the source with superior bioavailability, reliable and effective, so that you can feel the difference. With 36 clinical studies and 10 years of research, Mariva represents the greatest breakthrough in curcumin in the world, independently endorsed by the Cleveland Clinic, containing natural active components that modulate healthy inflammatory response signals and support ache management, so you get the relief you need. Guaranteed results and consistent quality from Indina, celebrating 100 years committed to improving the quality of life. For more information about Mariva, visit Indina.com, MERIVA, Mariva. It is that time of the year where everyone should be jolly, and yet we find that there are lots of stressors in our lives each and every day, and it seems to catapult us into the holiday season and then run right through. And over again, I'm sure you've said it, and so has everybody else. You just say, I can't believe that it's Christmas again. I can't believe it's Hanukkah. I can't believe it's the holiday season. And it seems to start in November and run all the way through February, where it's just kind of this nonstop holiday event, holiday, and shopping and thinking and just moving. So we were talking today with the author of The Mood Cure, Julia Ross. It is a 24-hour job to live in a human body and to experience the constant changing of the emotions. And as I started reading through this book, it was kind of shocking to me because, Julia, you even say in the book the adult rate of depression and anxiety has tripled since 1990, and over 80% of those who consult MDs really complain that it's excessive stress. Now, when you look at it and you look down the road and you also see that 1 in 10 children suffer significant mood disorders, we keep hearing all these new kind of imbalances in our children. And it used to be that one would take a vacation. There was psychotherapy, there was spiritual counseling. Now it just seems like it's the first stop is to the drug department, and everybody jumping on drugs, whether they feel like it'll stop them from overeating or whether it will cure their depression. And we've kind of gotten somewhere along the line lost touch with, wait a minute, what is causing the problem? What's happened to us as a society that we're this out of balance in just such a short period of time?
Well, I'd like to give my opinions, but this is really beyond opinion. I mean, there are some things that we are suffering that are new. I mean, the terrorist threat is new. The pace of life is new. The extent of environmental pollution of all kinds is new. But I think the thing that's the most significant factor in this bad mood epidemic is the fact that we're eating the most stressful diet ever known in the United States, and we're exporting it so that, for example, in Great Britain, the rates of depression are increasing right along with the deterioration in diet. And so what I'm talking about is one of the things that makes serotonin the number one deficiency is that you have to eat very well 3 times a day with plenty of protein, fat, vegetables, and fruit in order to get enough serotonin to keep you feeling cheerful all through the winter. And many women diet, many young girls, and most teenagers. So right there, you're getting the beginning of a serotonin depletion problem. And then most people are skipping breakfast these days. With the fast pace and the high pressure, it's really hard to get good quality food in 3 times a day, and most people just aren't doing it. And so without the 3 solid meals, you just can't hope to keep your stress coping machinery in trim.
Yeah, so you can pop out, and you call these false moods, where you have the true emotions, but then there are all these false kind of patterns that come and go, and you can't really identify, are you really depressed, or is it just because your body is depressed from a nutrient that it needs?
Sometimes it's very obvious. Your life is going pretty well, your relationships, your work, but you still wake up in the middle of the night feeling panicky, but there are no real issues. That's more and more common. You get home from work and yell at the kids, and they're really not doing anything all that bad. These are the kinds of things that I call false moods. They're not really you. They're really a direct result of some nutrient deficiencies that have affected your brain chemistry, and you're just getting the wrong messages and feelings that are not natural to you.
Right. There's I made this list when I was on the plane it was kind of talking about the false moods and the true emotions. And I thought it was interesting because like true emotions were grief, fear, anger, shame. And then it seemed, and correct me if I'm wrong, that then these false emotions can also overlay depression, anxiety, sadness, and irritability. What's the difference between those?
Well, it really has to do with 2 things. One, are there circumstances that are causing you to be sad or irritable? All of them can be legitimate, but do they disappear when the circumstances are gone, or do they go on and on? If somebody is occasionally irritable, it's not, or even depressed, that's not a kind of problem that we need to concern ourselves with. But if those feelings of depression, irritability, sadness go on and on and on, then we have false moods. Then we have excess of these abnormal feelings. And so, for example, if someone dies who's close to you, you are going to feel a lot of sadness, and you may go through a range of emotion. I mean, even anger is part of the grief process, but you're going to come out of that, and as the first year passes, if they're very, very close to you, it'll probably take a year, you're going to start getting a lot of relief from all those feelings, and it should start even sooner. But there are some people who just don't get over pain, and it continues to drag at them, and losses. And those people really deserve some relief. And by looking at their brain chemistry and seeing if there's some deficiency, and then using the nutrients that can quickly restore any deficiency, they'll see, is this a legitimate feeling or not? For example, if you're low in serotonin and you take some 5-hydroxytryptophan or 5-HTP, which is available in all the health food stores, which is just a little protein-like substance that the brain can use to make serotonin in a few minutes. If your mood improves, then you've found your true emotions.
Mm-hmm. So is it safe to be playing with your brain in that way, like you're popping them in and saying, oh, it's okay, I'll just take this? What's the downside? Is there any?
Well, the only downside is if you take some nutrients that you don't really need, and then you could get a mild headache or feel a little bit queasy, but it's very mild, and then you know immediately that you've hit the wrong target. Usually, though, by looking at the symptom questionnaires that the book begins with, you'll know exactly which nutrients to try, and you'll get the feedback within the first day about whether or not you've got a deficiency that needs nutritional counseling and therapy rather than psychotherapy, or in addition to psychotherapy.
Well, you've always said that you've seen with patients of yours, in 10 minutes of taking an amino acid, you've seen a difference. Well,
about 6 or 7 years ago, we started to give the amino acids, which are the foods that the brain uses to build up its 4 mood-enhancing neurotransmitters, right in the office once we had assessed people, and we realized that they actually did take effect in 10 or 15 minutes, and that our clients, were clearly different, from our point of view, and also we're feeling an internal difference from their own points of view. And so we've done it ever since, and it's taught us how effective these substances are, which exact symptoms they eliminate, so that by the time I wrote this book, we knew brain feeding backwards and forwards, so that it really could become a self-help process.
A lot of women are chocoholics, and they love chocolate. And then there are people who, by mid-afternoon, just feel like they have to have some kind of sugar or carbohydrate around 4 o'clock, or the person that has to have a drink. How do you begin? I know you have the tests in your book, but you should start to look around at the patterns in your life.
Yes, you want to say, okay, at 4 o'clock, when I start wanting the chocolate or the beer, how am I feeling? What is that going to do for me? Is it going to be a reward, a treat, pleasure, comfort, that kind of thing? Okay, that tells us that your endorphins are low at that time of the day, and you need a particular amino acid called DLPA, which will then boost your endorphin levels. But other people in the afternoon are starting to get that decline that goes with the sun dropping low, especially in the wintertime, and that's your signal that it might be serotonin that's the problem. So then you want to look at the low serotonin symptoms and say, do I get irritable and start feeling more negative and anxious? Is that what I'm trying to get rid of when I want the sweets or the alcohol or the pot? And if that's the case, then you're going to want to take a different nutrient that's going to build up your serotonin, the 5-HTP. And some people are deficient in both at that time of day, and they need both of those amino acids.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it's so fascinating to me, because it's just, when having a new store, there are a lot of people who come in and say, I just can't shake it. I don't know what it is. I just seem to feel anxious, and I can't identify anything. And I've heard that more and more because I'm exposed to the public more and more in that. So we're going to talk more with Julia Ross. The book is called The Mood Cure. I'm Danielle Lynn. Glad that you're here. Happy holidays.
You're listening to The Danielle Lynn Show, a conversation about life and smart living. Stay tuned. There's more coming your way.
There was this one time I went snorkeling in the Caribbean when I was a kid. It really just blew my mind. We saw the most beautiful corals, I remember thinking they were waving at us as they moved with the ocean. And then there were all these amazing fish. I'll never forget it. It completely changed the way I look at the ocean.
Most of us have a memory of being in nature we'll never forget. Let's protect the world's natural places so more memories can be made for generations to come. Visit worldwildlife.org.
We're all good at something. Maybe it's breakdancing or skateboarding or video games. Whatever you're good at, you had the skills to make it happen. And those same skills will help us get to college. Visit knowhowtogo.org to learn what you should be doing right now to prepare for college. Start taking the steps at knowhowtogo.org.
I've got what it takes. So do you.
Brought to you by the American Council on Education, Lumina Foundation, and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Move Time Radio, presented by the Arthritis Foundation. Ah, that's a good one. Get up and dance, baby. If you're driving, pull over to the shoulder. If you're at work, yeah, time to violate the employee handbook. See, movement is just one of the ways to help fight osteoarthritis pain. Another is weight loss. You get rid of just 1 pound, that's 4 pounds of pressure off each knee. For more information on managing pain, visit fightarthritispain.org, baby. This message is brought to you by the Arthritis Foundation and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Joe Perry and Steven Tyler from Aerosmith, here for RAD, recording artists, actors, and athletes against drunk driving. Yeah, you know we love it when the music does the talking.
And you know, the music stops when someone gets killed.
So never let someone you know get behind the wheel if they've been drinking. So keep it real. Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Medicaid and CHIP offer free or low-cost health coverage for children and teens. Hospital and doctor visits, prescriptions, shots, and more are covered. That's peace of mind for parents if a child is sick or gets injured. And parents may now be eligible for Medicaid too, even if they've applied in the past. Enrollment is always open. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
What's one of your favorite memories?
That's a tough question. Well, there was this one time I went camping with my parents in a forest back when I was maybe like 8 or 9. And I can remember one night we were laying out in our hammocks and we were just, watching the trees rustling in the wind above us, and we could hear the sounds of the forest all around us. Frogs singing and owls calling and the creek running nearby. It was amazing. It felt like we were a part of it all. I don't know if I do it justice trying to describe it, but I'll definitely never forget it.
Most of us have a memory of being in nature we'll never forget. Let's protect the world's natural places so more memories can be made for generations to come. Visit worldwildlife.org.
Question: what will you find on all over-the-counter or OTC medicine packages to help you choose the right drug and use it safely? The answer: the drug facts label. This label lists the medicine's active ingredients and purpose, how much to take, and warnings you should know before using it. Remember, even OTC medicines you buy without a prescription can cause side effects you don't want. So follow the information listed on the drug facts label. For more information, visit fda.gov/drug facts label. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Hoping that your holiday season is going well and that you're having a great time with friends and family. If you're heading out across the country or even across the world, stay safe. We are talking today about some very important things, but Penta is a company that has been doing research on water for a number of years. And what they have found out is that basically a lot of deficiencies in the body, a lot of problems start with people simply being dehydrated. And that water, because the chemistry of water has changed, because it's running through all kinds of pipes and there's chemicals added to it, the body seems to in some way even resist it going into the cells to hydrate. So the research they've been doing is to look at how do you power the nature of hydration into the cell. Penta water is a structured water in a sense, and a purified water. They have a book, it's called Water, the Foundation of Youth, Health, and Beauty. And they sell Penta water at most of the natural food stores these days across the country, so you can request it if you can't find it, but ask for it by name. It's Penta. Now, we continue in this hour talking about moods and the moods that people go through in the quadrants of the brain that are actually affected by the nutrients that we take into the body. The book is called The Mood Cure. The author, Julia Ross, is joining us. She's also the author of The Diet Cure and has spent many years working in the areas of addiction, whether it's bulimia and food disorders or alcohol addiction. There are so many things that we're dealing with in our brain, and it seems to be that more and more the stress that we're all under, whether it's our children or whether it's you as an adult, we grab for something to help us neutralize the stress, and we were talking about chocolate and alcohol, but other things are things like caffeine that, you know, a lot of people will grab onto, Julia, to try and find just a break in the course of the day.
Or to even get to the point where they can face the day in the morning. The people who are the most drawn to caffeine are people whose own natural energy and spark just isn't there, or is too dim. And so those are type 2 people who are low in the catecholamines, that are natural energizers. And I just had a story the other day of somebody who was a 5 snooze alarm person in the morning, and she started to use the amino acid tyrosine, which the brain uses, you know, in minutes to increase the stores of our natural caffeine, the catecholamines, and the alarm would go off. She would have a glass of water and some tyrosine at the bedside. She would take some. She would turn on the snooze alarm. It would go off once, and she was ready to jump out of bed. She didn't need those 4 other snooze alarm assists anymore. And we find this all the time, that people can regain their own alertness and vitality and ability to concentrate again, and be able to move away from the caffeine, which, you know, definitely has some downsides.
What about the person that is an afternoon ready to have the cocktail, and the person at same person maybe has a lot of energy but still addicted to caffeine? How do you...
Someone who has a lot of energy who's still addicted to caffeine? Well, caffeine is highly addictive. So, you know, a lot of people get addicted to it who don't really need it. I mean, we do have people who go off of it and they get the headaches and so forth, and then they realize, you know what, I have a little more energy now than I had when I was on the caffeine. But an awful lot of caffeine addicts really do need it. And that's where this book comes in, is for people who really need caffeine because their chemistry is deficient and they're using a drug to try and shore their brain chemistry up. They can do something much more efficient and take, for a few months at the most probably, take some amino acids and find themselves alert naturally.
I find that people do caffeine and coffee almost now more as a ritual. It's like a part of the lifestyle rather than maybe even needing to have the caffeine, but they want the lifestyle. I'll meet you at the coffee shop, I'll meet you over at Starbucks or whatever. And it seems to be, you know, how do you deal with that?
Well, I think that's the consequence of our becoming depleted. You know, instead of meeting for lunch, we're meeting at the coffee shop. You know, part of it is we don't have any time, but the other thing is that we've just become so depleted, and we've turned to drugs like caffeine to try and keep going because we've turned away from really solid, wholesome eating.
Mm-hmm. So when you say take tyrosine, how do you know how much to actually take, and when do you take amino acids?
The best way to take amino acids is before you eat or between meals, and I go into a lot of detail in the book about how to start with the lowest dose so that you see before you get into it whether it's really for you. And they are perfectly fine for most people, but there are some people that don't do well with them. So I always recommend start with the lowest dose, and if you need more, then go up gradually, you know, each day, add another one until you reach the right dose for you, which will be a temporary one, and then you'll back down, won't need as much, and then you won't need any. None of these things are for permanent use. They're all brain therapy, but they're not for, most people don't need them permanently.
So in your book where you have the tests, and I took those tests, and I found, I had some numbers in not all the categories, but if one has numbers in several of those categories, then how do you just pick and choose from each of them? Or are you more dominant?
You can take all of the four aminos that are recommended can be taken together, but typically the energizing aminos are taken in the morning, and the tranquilizing and relaxing ones are taken in the afternoon and evening.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, Dr. Janet Sand was on the other day, and we were having a conversation about menopause, and she mentioned GABA. And that is another area that people can, as you said, we started to talk about as the deficiency there and what the symptoms are, and also even personality types.
Well, she was probably talking about how as women get closer to menopause, their progesterone levels tend to drop. This isn't true for all women, but and progesterone is a primarily female sex hormone that turns on the GABA channel, so it enhances GABA's tranquilizing effects. And so if you drop too low in your progesterone levels, it could definitely contribute to being overstressed and easily overwhelmed.
Okay. So when you're, as far as taking GABA, now, where does that come from?
Well, all of the amino acids are made from yeasts. So they're fermented yeasts that are high in these amino acids.
Okay.
And GABA is our natural Valium, and it's something that, again, can be felt in 5 to 15 minutes in terms of the relaxing effect. And it will work beautifully for most people if sex hormone balance is a problem, progesterone levels are low, and that's part of the reason that GABA is low. We always recommend that any woman who's approaching menopause or in it test her sex hormone levels, and that men do this too over 40 to see what kind of imbalances may be developing that can affect mood.
And what's the best test for that? Because there's been some controversy around the kind of testing that really shows up.
Well, most of the controversy among the clients that we get in our clinic has to do with doctors just refusing to do any testing. But among the doctors that do, what we've found is that the most effective testing is salivary testing, because with saliva you can take the kids home and test your levels every day for your whole cycle, or for as long as you need. Even if you're not cycling, if you're a man, you can get your levels for several days running and see what is your output, what is your average output, not what is your output as in blood testing for a particular moment of a particular day.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, it's so interesting to me. And then we have one more category. We're going to take a break here, but we have one more category that we're going to go through in this whole emotional zone that you're affected by, and then what you need to do. That's endorphins. But many of you are familiar with that, especially from exercising. But we're talking with Julia Ross. The book is called The Mood Cure, and I'm Danielle Lynn. So busy thinking, you can't imagine not thinking? No, you don't have to climb a mountain and sit on a rock to unclutter your mind. Nagging deadlines and returning emails to tuition bills and balancing family and work is draining. Mind stress is becoming epidemic, and focusing even harder. Our brains are literally exhausted. Research shows that quieting the mind for short periods of time is essential to preventing burnout. The good news is, it's not that hard to do. Studies show that even after a short time of meditation or mindfulness, people had an increased sense of purpose, less tension, fewer headaches, and are happier. Becoming more mindful could actually help you be more effective with less effort. So try this. Push away from your desk. Sitting up straight, close your eyes, take a couple of deep breaths, do a few mild stretches, and smile for 60 seconds. So simple, right? Your brain will begin to crave the break, and you'll be amazed after 7 days of this practice. For de-stress tips, visit aliveandactivated.com. DanielleLynn.com
100 years ago, there were 100,000 tigers in the wild. Today, there are as few as 3,200. The Earth's wild animals can't speak up when they need help, but we can. Be the voice for those who have no voice. Visit worldwildlife.org.
You know, there are plenty of things to be said for most nutritional supplements, but to tell you the truth, there are so many great benefits with pycnogenol that I had a hard time cutting this down to 60 seconds. Known for its vast impact for improving vascular health, pycnogenol is like the ultimate product you just have to take. It's a must for your daily nutritional program and works in concert, enhancing the other things you do to take care of your skin, heart, joints, and cognition. Not to mention how incredible it is for helping those of you who sit at a desk all day or traveling great distances cramped in those small airplane seats, decreasing circulation. Promoting healthy circulation throughout your body is critical for your well-being. Pycnogenol has 40 years of documented research with more than 450 scientific publications ensuring safety and efficacy as a natural ingredient. Some things in life are just essential. Pycnogenol is one of them. Learn more at pycnogenol.com. Pycnogenol. Pycnogenol.com.
The Amazon's rainforest is being cut down so fast that by 2030, 55% of it could be completely wiped out. The Earth's forests can't speak up when they need help, but we can. Be the voice for those who have no voice. Visit worldwildlife.org.
Don't wait until it's too late to take care of your heart. It's not about fixing problems like high cholesterol or inflammation. It's about preventing them. I am Danielle Lynn with a truly special offer, so you can start now to potentially avoid heart-related problems later. It is the most important organ of your body. You cannot live without your heart. I want to introduce you to one of the most significantly researched and documented natural ingredients in the world. It's called persimmon. The benefits of pure persimmon leaf extract powder have been recommended in Asia for centuries for anti-inflammation, anti-hypertension, and protecting heart and cerebral vessels. Now you can try persimmon for only the cost of shipping. No other commitment. We just want you to try it and focus on keeping your heart protected to stay healthy for a long time. Visit longevitybynature.biz. Use the code DLIN. Pay only $6.95. Yep, just shipping. longevitybynature.biz. Code DLIN for persimmon. Regardless of your age and gender, Curazyme is right for everyone to address the wear and tear from living a busy lifestyle. Curazyme is a natural dietary supplement formulated to improve and support overall health and longevity, specifically combined with a highly effective proprietary blend of bioenzymes. Curazyme provides the full spectrum of critical enzymes needed for those who are or are not physically active. Though science clearly shows it is important to keep your body moving and stretching on a regular basis. Many of the enzymes found in Curazyme are naturally produced by your body, but with aging and exposure to life stressors, critical enzymes can get depleted that are essential to initiate and regulate your body's endless biochemical processes, working 24 hours a day to maintain healthy human life. Curazyme aids in relieving stressed joints, tendons, and muscles, gluten, allergy, and dairy-free. It's the natural thing to do, so get moving. Try Curazyme. Notice the difference in how you feel. Available at Curazyme.com, Curezym.com.
If we continue to consume our natural resources at the rate we do now, by 2050, it could take 3 Earths to meet our needs. The Earth can't speak up when it needs help, but we can. Be the voice for those who have no voice. Visit worldwildlife.org.
Don't wait until it's too late to take care of your heart. It's not about fixing problems like high cholesterol or inflammation. It's about preventing them. I am Danielle Lynn with a truly special offer, so you can start now to potentially avoid heart-related problems later. It is the most important organ of your body. You cannot live without your heart. I want to introduce you to one of the most significantly researched and documented natural ingredients in the world. It's called persimmon. The benefits of pure persimmon leaf extract powder have been recommended in Asia for centuries for anti-inflammation, anti-hypertension, and protecting heart and cerebral vessels. Now you can try persimmon for only the cost of shipping. No other commitment. We just want you to try it and focus on keeping your heart protected to stay healthy for a long time. Visit longevitybynature.biz. Use the code DLIN. Pay only $6.95. Yep, just shipping. longevitybynature.biz. Code DLIN for persimmon. LIN.com. upon us, I want to remind you to check out Eden Foods. I was just looking at one of their brochures that they sent me, and it's beautiful organic apple butter spread and tart cherry butter. And this is a lovely thing, especially if you're going to have friends over or you're going. These are, a lot of you are making up baskets. This is a wonderful thing that you can put in the baskets. And organic products from Eden Foods. Go to their website at edenfoods.com, EDENFOODS. We continue talking with Julia Ross. They're the last kind of quadrant in the emotional, the hormones in relationship to our moods is endorphins. And Julia, a lot of people know that because of being sports people and working out and kind of ramping that section of the brain up. First, real quick, just some of the symptoms would be what, and then what would be, you would supplement with?
Well, if your endorphin levels are low, even a long run, they've done tests of athletes at the end of a run, and the ones who are, really uplifted and happy are the ones with the high endorphins, and the others, even if they win, who don't feel that way, they find that their endorphins have dropped. And so if they drop too low, you find yourself just not wanting to deal with painful issues. You may tear up more easily than ever before. And just think of yourself, and others think of you too, as being awfully sensitive. Some people have been this way from birth. This can be a genetic tendency that the brain's a little sluggish in programming endorphin, but that can be altered by taking the amino acids as well. And the amino acids, when you start getting into those in particular, what would they be? The amino acid that's the most useful here is DL-phenylalanine, or DLPA, because that particular formulation helps the brain build up its endorphin levels and keeps it from breaking down the endorphins. That reminds me of like aspartame and people taking these kinds of powdery things that work on brain chemistry even though you don't realize it. They do affect us, don't they? They do, and aspartame, like caffeine, can kind of replace our own natural stimulants. And also aspartame, caffeine too, are the natural enemies of serotonin, and it's one of the reasons I like to get rid of them, is that serotonin is such a hard chemical to keep in strong stock, and when we consume a lot of aspartame and caffeine, we're depleting our stock for sure. In your book, you mentioned some of the bad mood foods, and you do even talk about soy for some people. What are some of the things we need to be keeping our eyes on? Well, the top the top winners in the bad mood food category are sugar and refined starch, because they're so addictive. They can replace all of the other foods that we should be eating that would actually build up our mood capacity, good mood capacity, rather than tearing it down. And because it destabilizes blood sugar, we're always dropping off of a cliff emotionally when the effects of the sugar wear off. And the same goes for white flour products. And then wheat is a very common food, and a lot of people eat a lot of whole wheat products. And for some people, that's great. But for a growing number of people, because wheat is a hybridized, it's much changed. For example, in the United States, it's very different than it is in other countries of the world. And it contains a lot of a substance called gluten that can be very irritating to the gut lining and cause some really significant mood changes. Some people get very tired and depressed. Other people get very anxious. Bipolar mood changes are associated with this. So for some people, wheat can be a bad mood food. The same is true for soy. Soy tends to depress the thyroid, so it tends to make us slower and draggier, and it also increases estrogen levels tremendously. So for both of those reasons, weight gain can be a problem because of soy. And we really feel that unless you know where your sex hormone and thyroid levels are, that you should probably stay away from much soy. It's so interesting, and it's just starting with the basics in the book. If you take the test that you have and you at least begin to kind of play around with this, that you'll be on the start to understanding, wait a minute, what I'm going through
I have a girlfriend that has a child that has always been just so absolutely sensitive, shy, doesn't work well in school, homeschooled. And as I was reading the book last night, I started thinking, boy, could it be as simple as...
It could. And children respond beautifully to small amounts, like half doses of these amino acids, and again in a very short order, and only need to take them for a short amount of time. But everybody who takes the amino acids needs to also be really clear that they are going to eat 3 meals a day with plenty of protein, good fat, lots of vegetables, and some fruit, and then whatever other carbs, whole grain carbs or beans or whatever they want to add to that. Because without that substrate of really good nutrition, it's very hard you can't just do it with the amino acids alone on a permanent basis.
And you also, just to wrap it up, mentioned that you've got to get sleep. You've got to be drinking water. You've got to rest the body. And a lot of people are not sleeping great these days. So it's an overall program. And if you want to blast out the blahs or comfort over sensitive feelings or cool anxiety and stress, there's a lot of things in this book that can change your life very quickly. It's The Mood Cure. And thanks, Julia Ross.
You're welcome.
Happy holidays.
Same to you.
Yeah, take care. All right, well, I'm Danielle Lynn, and that just about wraps it up. We hope you'll go to our website. If you miss anything, find us at www.daniellelin.com, and my name is spelled DANIELLELIN. And there's another hour coming your way, so stick around.
Yes, dear viewers, it was indeed a pleasure it was a treat to listen to Daniel Lynn, Dr. Julia. Viewers, those who are joining us from Utah, for some technical reason, Daniel's Facebook did not click today. You can watch the live proceedings on our Twitter. The complete proceedings are documented. At present, we are live on Twitch TV, Dylan TV, Periscope TV, and all the LinkedIn Live is also connecting to a significant number of people all across the globe. NPAF is a 4K equipped biotechnology video transmission infrastructure. We have a compounded reach globally. We try to bring in the best resolution with the best possible voiceover in the present time to bring effective market penetration globally in the healthcare sector. If you want your voice to be heard, you may feel free to go to the website of NPAFInc, enroll yourself. Of course, we have a lot of enrollments pending. We cannot invite everyone as we do not operate on ordinary data. We are not a Zoom or WebEx or that kind of a company. We bring the best of the technology and the combination of data that makes us unique in terms of global transmission. We are multi-track, multi-terminals global transmission in healthcare. We are 4K with the best infrastructure available in present time here in Canada. If you want your voice to be heard, kindly enroll yourself for the program. Subject to the availability of spectrum, slot, and the resources, we will revert back to you. Till such time, stay tuned. Continue to visit NPAFInc and DanielLean.com. Stay tuned, stay blessed. See you next